Welcome back to Car Show 1, the channel where we bring you the most legendary machines from the past, the present, and even the future of the automotive world. If you love cars that roar with history, design, and performance, then you are in the right place. Today we are diving into one of Ford's most iconic muscle cars to ever come out of Australia, a machine that became a cult legend across the globe. This is the story of the 1970 Ford Falcon XB GT 351, a car that not only defined Australian motoring but also became a worldwide symbol of raw performance and rebellion. When you first set eyes on the 1970 Ford Falcon XB GT 351, you instantly realize this is not just any muscle car. The styling is bold, aggressive, and purposeful. With its wide stance, sharp lines, and menacing front fascia, it perfectly embodies the muscle car spirit of the late 60s and early 70s. The Falcon GT series had already made waves in the racing world with its earlier models, but the XB generation took everything to the next level. The GT351 was the top performance version, equipped with Ford's mighty Cleveland V8 engine that set new standards in Australian car culture. To understand the 1970 Falcon XB GT 351, we need to look at the history of the Ford Falcon in Australia. The Falcon was originally an American design introduced by Ford Australia in the 1960s, but by the time the XB arrived, the car had been heavily re-engineered and reimagined for Australian conditions. Roads in Australia were longer, rougher, and demanded a car that could handle heat, dust, and distance. The XB Falcon not only met those demands but became a dream car for those who craved both speed and durability. The GT351 model was at the top of this family, built for enthusiasts who wanted more than just a sedan. They wanted something that could take on the racetrack and still be driven on the street. Under the hood, the XB GT351 carried the famous 351 cubic inch V8 Cleveland engine. This powerplant was a monster in its time, offering around 300 horsepower depending on the exact specification, and delivering it with that throaty, unmistakable muscle car sound. The torque was immense, which meant acceleration was brutal for the era, and the Falcon could compete with many American muscle cars on both road and track. The engine was paired with either a 4-speed manual transmission, which purists loved, or a 3-speed automatic for those who wanted more convenience. Together with a limited slip differential and performance suspension, the GT351 was a car that begged to be driven hard. Design-wise, the 1970 Falcon XB GT was instantly recognizable. Its aggressive front end with quad headlights, wide grille, and bulging hood gave it an intimidating look. The fastback-style coupe body, with sweeping lines and muscular proportions, made it look like it was built for speed even when standing still. Many models came with bold racing stripes and unique color schemes that only added to its presence. Inside, the car offered bucket seats, a sports steering wheel, and instrumentation designed to make the driver feel like they were behind the wheel of a race car. For its time, it was both stylish and functional, blending luxury touches with performance-focused design. Of course, one of the reasons the 1970 Ford Falcon XB GT 351 is so well remembered today is because of its racing pedigree. Ford Australia was deeply invested in motorsport during this era, and the Falcon GT series became legendary in events like the Bathurst 1000, one of the most demanding endurance races in the world. The 351 engine was built for racing, and the Falcon GT became a hero of the track. Drivers loved its power, balance, and durability, and it soon earned a reputation as one of the greatest Australian performance cars of all time. But there's another reason the Falcon XB GT became a legend beyond Australia: the movies. The XB Falcon GT 351, particularly the coupe, was immortalized on the big screen in the Mad Max films. The Black Interceptor driven by Mel Gibson in the original Mad Max movies was based on a modified 1970s Falcon XB GT coupe. This film exposure turned the car into an international icon, representing speed, danger, and raw, apocalyptic style. For many enthusiasts outside Australia, their first glimpse of the Falcon GT came not on a racetrack, but on the silver screen, where it became one of the most famous movie cars of all time. Collectors today see the 1970 Ford Falcon XB GT 351 as one of the most desirable Australian muscle cars ever produced. Its rarity, performance, and connection to both motorsport and cinema make it a prized piece of automotive history. Original, well-preserved examples can fetch very high prices at auctions, and enthusiasts spend years searching for authentic models. The appeal is not just the car's performance, but the cultural significance it carries. Owning one is like owning a piece of Australia's golden era of motoring. When you get behind the wheel of a Falcon XB GT 351, the driving experience is pure muscle car magic. The V8 engine rumbles to life with authority, and every press of the throttle fills the air with that deep, throaty sound. The car is heavy by modern standards, but it has an honesty to its performance that makes it unforgettable. Steering requires effort, braking requires skill, and the suspension feels firm yet surprisingly composed. It was built for drivers who wanted to feel every bit of the road, who wanted a car that challenged them and rewarded them in equal measure. The 1970s were a turning point for the global muscle car scene. In the United States, muscle cars were starting to face restrictions due to emissions laws and fuel crises, but in Australia, the Falcon GT series continued to thrive. Cars like the XB GT 351 represented the last great era before regulations began to tame performance machines. That's why enthusiasts look back on this model with such fondness. It was bold, raw, and untamed, a car built before compromises watered down the muscle car spirit. Even today, the 1970 Ford Falcon XB GT 351 continues to inspire. Restomod builders and customizers love using the Falcon as a base for modern upgrades, giving it modern suspension, brakes, and technology while retaining the iconic looks and engine. Meanwhile, purists strive to preserve the original condition of these cars, keeping the spirit of the 1970s alive. Whether restored or modified, the XB GT remains one of the most exciting cars to own and drive. What makes this car truly special is its story. It wasn't just a machine built for speed. It was a car that represented freedom, individuality, and a uniquely Australian take on the muscle car formula. It was proof that Australia could build a car to rival anything coming out of Detroit, and in many ways, it surpassed expectations. The Falcon GT 351 wasn't just about horsepower figures or racing wins, it was about passion, style, and the thrill of driving. As we look back today, more than 50 years later, the 1970 Ford Falcon XB GT 351 stands as one of the most important cars in Ford's history, and in the history of muscle cars overall. Its combination of power, design, racing heritage, and cultural impact makes it a timeless legend. From the streets of Australia to the racetracks of Bathurst, from movie screens to collectors' garages, the Falcon GT has left a mark that will never fade. So whether you know it as the Bathurst-bred muscle car, the Mad Max Interceptor, or simply the dream machine of an era, the 1970 Ford Falcon XB GT 351 remains an icon. It's a car that represents everything we love about muscle cars: power, presence, and passion. And that is why it will always be remembered, not just as a great Ford, but as one of the greatest cars ever built. Thank you for watching Car Show 1. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the history and legend of the 1970 Ford Falcon XB GT 351, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss our next journey into the world's most incredible cars. Until next time, keep your engines roaring and your passion for cars alive.